If you think the internet and the World Wide Web are the exact same thing, your tech credibility is officially cooked. Let's break down the actual history of how the web was built, because confusing the two makes you sound like a total tech NPC. To understand how we got here, we have to look at the absolute mess of the late 1980s. People think tech back then was seamless, but data sharing was a massive, frustrating L. Imagine you're trying to build a house, but every single tool is locked in a different warehouse across 100 different countries. To get a hammer, you have to mail a physical letter to Switzerland, wait 3 weeks, and hope they send the right one back. That was life for scientists at CERN. They had over 17,000 brilliant researchers spread across the globe, but their computers were completely isolated islands. If you wanted a piece of data from a colleague in another country, you basically had to hop on a plane or deal with incompatible, nightmarish network protocols. Then in March 1989, a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee decided he was done with this garbage workflow. Now, let's clear up a major misconception right now. Tim did not invent the internet. The internet is just the physical highway, the actual underground cables, copper wires, and routers that connect computers together. Tim invented the World Wide Web, which is the fleet of cargo trucks driving on that highway, delivering the actual packages. He wrote a proposal for a hypertext project to merge computers, data networks, and clickable links into a single, easy-to-use global information system. By the end of 1990, Tim had the world's very first web server up and running in his office on a NeXT computer. But because early tech infrastructure was held together by pure hope, this machine was incredibly vulnerable. To prevent people from accidentally destroying his creation, Tim literally had to write a warning label in red ink and tape it to the computer case. It said, "This machine is a server. Do not power it down." Imagine if a janitor had unplugged that computer to plug in a vacuum cleaner. The entire foundation of modern digital society would have been phantom taxed out of existence right then and there. The world's first website was hosted at info CERN.ch. If you saw it today, you'd probably think your browser crashed because it was just plain text and links. There were no search engines, no algorithms, and no video streaming. It was basically a digital phone book and keyword index for CERN scientists to look up computer manuals. At first, this system had a major bottleneck. You could only access the web if you owned an incredibly expensive NeXT computer. That is a massive barrier to entry. But a student researcher named Nicola Pello stepped up and coded a line mode browser. It didn't look fancy, but it could run on literally any potato computer in the world. In 1991, Tim released this software to the public, and the web started spreading to international laboratories, landing at Stanford in California by the end of the year. Suddenly, developers all over the world started building their own browsers, trying to give the web a proper visual interface. The ultimate glow-up happened in 1993 when the National Center for Supercomputing Applications dropped a browser called Mosaic. Mosaic added actual windows, graphics, and user-friendly buttons. It made navigating the web as simple as pointing and clicking. Immediately, web traffic exploded, quickly making up 1% of all internet traffic, which was an absolute unit of data back in those days. By 1994, the momentum was unstoppable. Media outlets were losing their minds covering it. The very first international web conference was held at CERN, and people literally called it the Woodstock of the web. By the end of that year, the web skyrocketed to 10,000 servers and 10 million users. The amount of data moving across the network every single second was the equivalent of shipping the entire collected works of William Shakespeare. But here is where the story gets legendary, and it highlights a practice that modern, greedy corporate monopolies desperately hate. On April 30, 1993, CERN made the ultimate power move. They released the source code of the World Wide Web into the public domain completely royalty-free. They didn't copyright it, they didn't put it behind a paywall, and they didn't charge a monthly subscription fee. Tim Berners-Lee eventually left CERN to join MIT and founded the World Wide Web Consortium to ensure the web remained an open, universal standard that no single company could ever lock up or monopolize. If they hadn't made that open-source decision, our current digital landscape would be fractured into a dozen different corporate digital walled gardens, where you'd probably have to pay a microtransaction just to click a hyperlink.